Hey everybody, welcome to TIW Podcast. I'm Eric, and today I watched Survivor Edge of Extinction episode 11, Awkward. Spoilers away, if you haven't seen this episode yet and don't want to find out what happens, then hit pause and go watch it. This is a really, really good one. I love this episode. Alright, so we start out with Ron and Devin's chatting strategy, and Ron gives him his expired advantage menu from way back in episode 1 or 2. I didn't write that down in my advantages big master chart, but Ron is trying to get Devins to trust in him, and we'll see how that goes down. We have a loved ones challenge. It's the one with the buckets where the loved ones catch the water thrown by the survivors, and they try to fill a thing to raise the flag. Ron and his husband Lloyd win this challenge, and Ron picks Julie with her husband and Gavin with his wife, who they got married 2 days before he left for Survivor. That's nuts. So they have a great time back at camp, but we'll see how much of that plays into Ron's favor, because Ron is everything is calculated, and this was calculated to win those two over, but maybe miscalculated to do some damage to his relationship with Victoria and Lauren. They felt really they felt alienated by Ron's decision. But it's like he can only choose two, so I guess that does play into it, that they're if he's trying to please everybody, but he can only please two. He has to pick two of the top of and then the four others are left out. But anyway, while they're back at camp, Aurora looks through Devin's bag and he catches her, and he makes a whole big stink about it. So since they thought he was looking for a clue, he decides to go look for an idol or a clue anyway, and he finds one, and it's high up in a tree above their camp. And so he waits until nighttime, and he climbs this like 15 foot. I don't think it's really that tall, but it is pretty tall, like 10 feet up. And grabs the idol in the dead of night. So then we have the immunity challenge, where they have to stand on some little teeny ledges with their feet cramped up against the wall, and there's like that like half-inch little ledges. And Rick is the first one out after offering everybody final three, a final three deal. Then Ron is out right after that, followed by Victoria, followed by Julie, who cannot walk, and Ron goes over there and carries her back over to the bench. Aurora is also eliminated. She just sits down. Ron does not offer to go and carry her back over to the bench. And then Lauren is out, leaving Gavin as the winner and the immune person of this challenge. So back at camp, Ron is still trying to get Devins to believe in him, and tells him, okay, we're going for Aurora. But meanwhile, Lauren and Victoria team up, and they think, this isn't cool. Let's get this guy out of here. We're going to vote for Ron. They talk to Aurora about it. Aurora gives her extra vote to Gavin, because they still want to split the votes between Devins and Ron, or so that like things don't tie. Like the thing is that if Aurora is involved in the tie, then she loses her ability to use the extra vote. So she gives it to Gavin, who's guaranteed to be able to use it, which is kind of smart. But Aurora, you could just play that extra vote. It's the last time you can do it anyway. Why not just play the extra vote, and then you guaranteed that whoever you're voting for has the most votes, or one more vote than they did. But It worked out. It worked out all right, I think. So we get over to tribal council, and let me pause this recording real quick. I got to pull up who actually voted for who. Okay, so yeah, it was an interesting tribal council up until the votes anyway. Lots of back and forth and the usual analogies and all of that. I think that's what people strive for these days, is to think of a good analogy for for tribal council, so that they can get some airtime and memorable quotage. But we get to the votes. Ron is just kind of just riling everybody up a little bit, and I don't think he knows. I don't think he knows the plan of Lauren and Victoria, which is kind of great. But let's see, who did Aurora end up voting for? Okay, so yeah, nobody even batted an eye that 8 votes were read. Like, if anybody responded to that, I don't think they didn't show it or anything. And I think that's going to come out at the beginning of the next episode. They're like, wait a second, how are there 8? How are there 8 votes? There are only 7 of us. And then, of course, a bunch of people already know that that's what happened. But I think back at Edge of Extinction, they're going to be confused. Ron's going to be like, wait, why? How did what? And I don't think anybody else on Edge of Extinction knew about that extra vote that Aurora had. No, wait, somebody did. Was it Kelly? Did Kelly know? I feel like it might have been Kelly. Anyway, we get 4 votes. Okay, before the vote happens, Devins tries to play the secret menu, the advantage menu, and Jeff said, this expired day 9. It's no good. And Rick tears into Ron and Julie, saying, like, you knew I was going home, and you just want me make me look stupid? Like, that's just unnecessary. And I totally agree with that. If they hadn't been so aggressive, then maybe they would have successfully gotten Rick to go home, and he wouldn't have played. He wouldn't have that fake or expired advantage to play, and maybe it would. Yeah, I don't know. It could have gone down very, very differently. But he says, well, here's the thing. I'm going to play this now instead. Because he has the actual idol, and all of his votes are negated. He would have gone home. He had 4 votes against him. And that was kind of fantastic. Aurora gets 1 vote. That vote was from Rick. So obviously he wasn't in on that plan to get Ron out. He just knew that everybody was probably voting for him. So, yeah. And voting for Aurora makes sense because she's extremely good at challenges. She wasn't good at this week's challenge, but actually she was really good. She made it to third to last place in that. But let's see. What was I going to say? Okay. Aurora got 1 vote. That was from Rick. But then Gavin used that advantage and got the extra vote and voted for 2 votes for Ron. And Lauren also voted for Ron, which is interesting because Aurora also voted for Rick. So her extra vote, I think if she had played, she probably would have voted 1 for each anyway. 1 for Rick and 1 for Ron, maybe. Or maybe she would have voted 2 for, I don't know. A 2 for Ron special is what Gavin provided in this tribal council. So yeah, this was pretty fantastic. That was brilliantly played by Devins. And that means, okay, if I'm not mistaken, Lauren still has an idol. which means she can use it successfully. It's still possible for her to use it successfully. And Rick, he's the only one who has successfully played any idols, because Kelly and Aubrey both went out with the idols in their pockets, or maybe not even in their pocket if they even had them with them. So good job, Rick, so far. And he is like absolutely the biggest target on him, but he keeps pulling things off, and who knows what happens next week. Maybe we finally get somebody returning back to the game, because we saw the preview for next week that there's a special delivery. There's some type of chest in there. Well, all their stuff has come in like a little treasure chest, but maybe it's finally time for the last chance for someone to come back from the Edge of Extinction. So I'm super excited for next week's episode. I don't know if Rick makes it to the end, then he should win, because this has been ridiculous. And just from this episode alone, I think he kind of deserves it more for the gameplay than anybody else. But yeah, who else? Who remains? Who's still in here? So we have Victoria, Rick, Lauren. Victoria, she's winning me back now. I've talked about how I was very very much rooting for her towards the beginning, and then she kind of fell out of the picture, and now she's getting back up there. Same with Lauren. I've talked about how Lauren's been growing on me a lot. So if those two are in the final three, I'd be pretty happy about that. I don't know. So we have Ron, Victoria, Rick, Ron is out. Victoria, Rick, Lauren, Julie, Gavin, Aurora. We're down to 6. But it's going to be back up to 7 soon. Or back up to whenever that happens. I'm assuming it happens next episode. It's crazy. So there's 6 people in the game, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people on Edge of Extinction. 10 people on the jury, and one of them is going to get back in the game. That's pretty nuts. I have no prediction for that. I think who has the advantage? It was Aubrey has an advantage that she got 4 episodes ago. So how much of an advantage is it really? I don't know. I guess we'll see. But I'm excited to see what happens next. It's gonna be a good end game. All right. I think that's it. I'm just rambling now, and I went through all of my notes anyway. So let me know what you thought about this episode, who you're rooting for. I think I'm rooting for Lauren to win. I kind of glossed over that. I think Rick will win if he's in the final 3. He has the biggest argument for like deserving it, at least for the gameplay. But at the same time, people might not vote for him because they're like, damn it, Rick. The heck. But I think I'm kind of rooting for Lauren or Victoria to win. Especially if they pick up more solid gameplay moves like they did tonight. That was really well done by them. The overconfidence of Ron all throughout this episode, enjoying the reward with his husband on the beach and saying like, "Oh, I run this game. I've done all these things. It's so great." And all that. But then again, he could get back in and just totally wreck everybody. Although to be fair, only 2 people, betrayed him technically with those votes, but he might think it's 3 people because there were 3 votes. So anyway, I'm excited to see what happens next. Let me know what you thought about this episode and what you hope happens by tweeting me at TIW Podcast. Go to TIWpodcast.com for more reviews. If you enjoy this episode or anything else on the site, please share some links with your friends. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, wherever you enjoy listening. And I'll be back next time for episode 12 of Survivor Edge of Extinction. Thanks for listening. Stay safe out there, super friends. Bye.